Hey, what's going on, everyone? We have the Omega Strikers Rune update. Rune is going to be the new champion coming in, and we're going to go over all the changes and what my thoughts are on them right now. I'm currently in, which is around the top 1,000 players in the world right now, which to me is a pretty big accomplishment because I am horrible at fighting games. I am horrible at clicking, but I do know strategy. So we're going to go over everything the developers have tuned up for this specific patch. So first things first, the respawn timers are being tuned down 1 second, both the regular one and the overtime one. And this means that brawlers are slightly nerfed, so people who like knocking people out, not going to be as strong. Knockback is also slightly weaker against unstaggered enemies. So it's going to be both harder to knock people out and less punishing when you do. So now for matchmaking, gameplay servers used in matchmaking have now been changed. If you have low ping to multiple data centers, you will find matches in all of them immediately. Okay, so it depends where their servers are. And yeah, hopefully that leads to faster matches. For the maps, no new maps, but strikers can no longer be knocked through the walls on Split. That's pretty funny. I didn't know that was possible. Honestly, Split, I haven't played that map that much, just a couple of times, so that I've never ran into that yet. But onto the power orbs, we have Orange Orb was fixed in the Amy update to actually grant additional damage, but it missed the patch notes, so we're catching up here. UI improvements, thank God. This is the one thing that I thought was missing from the game, which is all the UI improvements. Let's see if they actually put in the right ones, though. So tactical callouts, I did want that. You can now propose tactics to your teammates in-game or perhaps tell a defender to move a little bit out of your goal arc. Perfect, fantastic. It might be a little annoying, might be a little toxic. A lot of games, they're moving away from communication between teammates and opponents because, toxicity is a thing. But we'll see if these are actually helpful, if the people are going to use them for their intended purpose. The in-game emoticon wheel is now functional on a controller, and the right analog stick can be used to select an emoticon to show. The emoticon wheel has now default center selected options that can be quickly triggered. Okay, so you could spam one really quickly. Fix, drag, and drop on controllers. Emoticons can now be equipped, and setting sliders can be adjusted with a controller. So a lot of fun things with controller. You can no longer click on version number at the top right corner when you're in a match. I know it showed the version number, but I didn't know you could click on it. I never put my cursor like all the way top right. In the Amy update, we unlocked all striker lore instead of gating it behind wins. Just noting here so you could catch up on it if you weren't aware. That's nice. VSync is no longer forced by the game, so it should work more easily with your default settings. Pips on Twitter and Discord icons will no longer reappear every game restart. And then redeeming a code will now correctly play the claim sequence and show what has been granted. I believe there's a code for Twitch drops that you can redeem. I forget what the code is. If you do know it, let me know down in the comments below so others can see it as well. And I'll go ahead and pin the comment if so. Also, we do have a Discord server, so join that if you want to talk with other people who play Omega Strikers. That will be in the description below. The settings menu can now be quickly opened from the main menu by hitting the escape key or the left center button on the controller. And then Clash of Clones. For our first new limited time mode, okay, new game mode. You will see teaming up with like-minded individuals on like-minded and like-looking strikers. You and your teammates will all play as the same randomly assigned striker, pitted against a team of 3 of the same but different randomly picked enemy strikers. So it's, what's that mode called? It's like all random, same person. I forget the exact term, but I guess that should be fun. Get ready for maelstroms flying all over the place or 3 X's all up in your business. 3x would be hilarious. Whoever gets a good goalie in this probably wins the matchup every time, but that's a discussion for a different day. New striker, Rune. So he's the Shadow's Force, and let's win before it consumes me. So strike's the same. Secondary ability, Shadow Swap. On round start, place your shadow at your location. On cast, become elusive and dash to your shadow, swapping places with it, and you have 2 charges. So it's essentially Zed from League of Legends. Primary ability, Unstable Anomaly. Conjure an expanding anomaly that initially deals a medium hit to enemies. If it reaches maximum size, it creates a lingering zone that pulses heavy hits, and it has 2 charges. And then special ability Banish. Launch a shadow wave projectile that banishes, slows, and damages enemies over time. Banish enemies cannot be targeted or interacted with. Ooh, interesting. So I guess if you have someone charging at you trying to beat you up, you can kind of just banish them and hopefully walk away. Seems pretty interesting. Seems more of a forward striker. Doesn't really seem like a goalie, so definitely going to be in that role there. If you guys want more info on roles and positions, we did release a video. I'll leave a card up here if you want to check that out in your free time. But moving on into the strikers, we have Amy. So base stagger buffed. Firewall Sentry, improved clarity on the missiles, and some new voiceover lines for new allies such as Rune. And I completely agree with the write-up up here. She has been popular, but yeah, I don't think she's that great. So it is, yeah, she did probably need a buff. Asher Path Splitter, improved team clarity. That was actually kind of like a tongue twister. Atlas, Cosmic expands, cooldown being reduced, duration after expansion is being increased as well. And Celestial Intervention is being buffed. Wow, so they're nerfing knockout champions. So therefore Atlas should be worse, right? Because he's like a counter to knockout champions. But then they're buffing him as well to compensate for it. I wonder if it's even worth playing like the fighters anymore. Holy cow. Drakar's special no longer spreads from infected targets if they're elusive, banished, or knocked out. Dubu, Tofu Fortress, increased cooldown. Holy cow, 40 seconds. That's a long time. Yeah, he definitely still is one of the better goalies. But yeah, that's tough to say. I don't know how to nerf him. He's just so fat, right? I guess most of the goalies are fat. But he just dominates on those split maps so well because his Bamboozle and Tofu Fortress are just so strong against that. Era, haste duration being increased a little bit, and Magic Maelstrom improved team clarity. Era's one of those champs where you're either really good at her or really bad at her. So it's like a high skill ceiling, I would say. So maybe it was hard to play for other people. Juliette. Okay, did they finally nerf Juliette? We put in some nerfs right after the game release, but they just didn't stick, and we're putting them back in. I did not know that. Player knockback damage is being reduced by 15, player damage 15 as well, and then core knockback. Okay, finally. Juliette is so punishing, and she like dodged the nerf hammer last patch somehow. I don't know how, because she was the most popular champion at the time. And yeah, they're finally fixing her. Plus, we have the nerfs at the very top for the system changes. So there's a lot of nerfs to Juliette, finally, thank God. I hate facing her. Maybe I don't have to ban her anymore. Her secondary ability, Flying Phoenix, cooldown also increased, so fantastic. I never learned how to play her, so I am very happy about this. Juno is the next one. Yay, Juno buffs. Juno is my favorite. Base duration for Blobos increased from 2 to 2.25. This makes her less reliant on Creator of Durable Things, and that is being nerfed. So actually, she's not really being buffed. She's just being changed because they're nerfing one of her key trainings. Kai's changes, Barrage. Number of projectiles is being increased, but the cooldown's being increased. Okay, and then the player knockback being reduced, player damage reduced, and core knockback reduced. How does this... Is this a buff or a nerf? It's more of like a rework. So last patch saw his competition being brought down and him finding a new role, so he's now seeing the other end of the stick. Having more projectiles may help get the final push for a goal, but the extra time shooting and increased cooldown should make him less effective as a goalie. So they really are in love with Kai forward because that's what they changed about him last patch. And it does make sense because when you pick Kai, he says, I'm the best striker in the world. And when I think of striker, I think of someone who's more of a forward, not so much a goalie. He kind of just like found a nice place there. He's well-rounded in both roles, though. Luna hasn't really been blasting off in her expected fashion. We're giving her a tiny boost. So her secondary cooldown being reduced a bit. There are a lot of interesting Luna builds right now, especially in goalies. Some people don't even take ejection seat now at like super high elo. There are a lot of weird Luna builds right now. You really have to be a Luna main to play her. I used to have her as part of my core champion, so I played like Juno, X, Luna as my like first three, and then I added on Estelle, but then I removed Luna from my champion pool because man, I switched from MOBA to WASD, and Luna is so much easier to play with MOBA controls because her jump is just much easier to control, and you're mainly just aiming her rockets the whole time. But with WASD, I have a very hard time using her jump, so I wish there was some way to fix that so I could aim it still with my mouse instead of my WASD whenever I'd use her jump. So it's a little bit of a tricky situation there, but the people who play Luna, they are extremely good at her, and the people who just have her as like their third or second champion or even fourth or fifth champion just are not the same on her, so definitely very punishing. So they remove incorrect voiceover when teamed up with Asher. X, okay. I need to pay attention to this. Oh, he's being buffed. Player knockback increased. Player damage, yes! And core knockback increased as well. So his brawling isn't what it once was, but we think he's just a small rush away from his next KO. So these are honestly compensation buffs for the knockout nerfs earlier on for the system changes. And they're also giving him more increased duration on his X Maximus. So, so he's probably net break even, I would say. Because, like, it's easier to knock people out, but respawn timers are reduced, so it's probably around the same power level there. Onto the trainings. We have some new trainings. Every 6 seconds, Strike also fires a light hit projectile. So this would be really good on Juno, because Juno uses her Strike so often, because you're trying to use it for the blobs as well. Pretty interesting. I don't know if it's good, but pretty interesting. Hotshot, hitting the core with an ability lowers its cooldown by 35%, and hit the core 12% harder. Ooh, I would like this for Juno as well. I would just be spamming the shoot button. Okay, I really want to use that. And her ultimate, does it proc on each blob? Okay, this is the new Juno training, whatever they're called. Acrobatics, basic movement abilities store an extra charge and can be cast again if the cooldown is available, but they have a 5% longer cooldown. Estelle would love this, holy cow. There's no way this is a thing. Maybe Luna can take this too, because she could jump to one side, then jump back without the ejection button. And she stores it well because she's sitting in goal, so she can just get the second cooldown really easily, or second charge really easily. Yeah, this is for sure going to be used on like Luna goalie. Prize Fighter, Brawler. Gain 7 power, takedowns grant 4 additional power, stacking up to 7 times. 2 stacks are lost if KO'd. Gain 7 power, takedowns grant 4 additional power. Obviously you want this on like fighters, but sometimes it's risky to take this on fighters because you get knocked out a bunch as well because you're like fighting so much because you're on the edge of the map. So who would actually want this? Maybe ranged fighters would want this, so maybe again Luna would want this a bit because yeah, maybe she avoids the takedowns because she's running away from people, but she could still knock people out. Maybe Estelle could use this. Yeah, but if it's on like X or Juliette, it's a little risky because you get knocked out too because you're like trying to fight near the edge. Adrenaline Rush, earning a takedown grants 60% haste for 2 seconds and reduces cooldowns by 8 seconds. Gain 15 speed. Earning a takedown grants 60% haste for 2 seconds. This would be really good for like maybe X or something, or Juliette. Anyone who knocks people out. So this just essentially means if you do happen to knock someone out, you're pretty much guaranteed a goal during the power play. So you really have to take advantage of that. Balance changes and bug fixes. Cast to last, the duration is changed from 75% longer to 60% longer. So like Era and X were the primary users of that. Creator of durable things. This was like, I believe Dubu, Juno, Asher, maybe someone else used this, reduced by 25%. I don't have the full champion list memorized yet. I do know all the champions, but like pulling them out of a hat, harder to do. Extra special ability cooldown reduced from 15% to 20%, so that's really good for anyone who used that. Luna liked that, Juno liked that. Stagger Swagger, stagger regen per second is increased by 25. I don't really know who used this. Stinger, Estelle used this a bunch. There are some popular builds for that, but tooltip now reflects the actual damage dealt, but nothing's changed there. Unstoppable, knockback resist 5 to 20% based on current stagger, is being changed to 40% at all times while not staggered. And then for the haste, 5 to 20% based on current stagger, is being reduced to 5 to 15% based on current stagger. I wish they just called stagger like health or something like that. I know they don't want it, so it's like, oh, I'm at 0 health. Why am I still alive? But stagger is just such a weird word to me. But I guess this is buffed pretty handedly because you just get 40% knockback resist instead of 5 to 25%. So if you get bullied a lot, maybe you take this. Cosmetics, new vampire era, Dubu. Is he like a poo-poo skin for that or something like that? Nurse Estelle. Okay, there's going to be some fan arts of that. And then all emotes now have accompanying voiceovers, and then new global explosions, underworld Kai explosion, orbital force. So overall, they're making this much less brawly, hopefully, because I do miss playing the ball. I still played X last patch, and yeah, I just did the same exact thing before the nerfs in the Amy patch, and I just walked at their goal, beat them up a bit, and I really didn't change my playstyle at all. It still worked. I still climbed a little bit, and yeah, so they're nerfing that more, so I have to play Juno a bunch more. But I've been actually rocking the Estelle lately. But let me know what champions you guys are liking so far in the game, and who are your mains, because we'll probably make some guides for those champions if you are into them, because me and my friends, we play all different things because we play on the same team, so we don't really share any champions. But Rune looks pretty interesting. It's a bit of a trickier champion. I think this is actually a decently high skill cap one. So yeah, brawler nerfs. I'm looking forward to like maybe the control players going to be a little better, such as like Era, Juno, maybe even Estelle for goal scoring. I think Kai's still going to be really good. In goaltending, Dubu's probably still going to be the best goalie. But maybe Asher, both as a forward and a goalie, has a space as well. Yeah, overall, like at the end of the day, like all the balance stuff is important, right? I'm not saying it's not important, but you just need to strike the ball better than the other person at the end of the day. So as long as you're doing that, you should be able to win some games in Omega Strikers. But that's going to be it from us today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that patch rundown, and we'll see you guys in the next video.